Next is I want to talk to you about the fact that not only are we the Christians admonishing people that Jesus Christ is coming soon, and I want you to know that it is true. Jesus is really indeed coming very soon. Nobody knows the day or the hour, but we are very close, very close, very close. It could happen any moment from now. It's not only the Christians who are saying it. According to the Maya calendar, they are even predicting that the world will come to an end by the end of this year, 2012, 21st, no, 21st of December 2012. And other people who are also in occultic groups.
That didn't happen, but a lot of people are looking ahead to the apocalypse. According to the Mayan calendar, they say December of next year.
December 21st, 2012.
All right.
Some people believe, what they call esoterics, believe that the end of the world is coming. And
I want to survive it. Okay, what do I need to do?
Exactly. But there's some stories that you just can't make this up. Well, according to certain esoterics, there's a belief that a place in Bucharest in southwest France, this is going to be the place that will save you the apocalypse. And what you're seeing now is what they call the sacred mountain, Le Pic de Bucharest. And it's believed that in this mountain, there are actually aliens, some believe, that are going to save you.
Okay, aliens are in the mountain right now.
Some people believe that, TJ, but let's look at this mountain. It's actually fascinating because usually you would have older rock at the bottom and newer rock on the top, but in this mountain, you have a complete inversion, so it's a scientific anomaly. But this has been of grave concern to the mayor of Bucharest because here's this little town, 200 people. People go there to hike, to see the views, to find beautiful orchids, and he's very concerned that you're going to get 2,000-3,000 people converging on this little town.
Are they starting to do this already?
People are already booking. They're booking apartments and bed and breakfast to come in for this period. And some residents actually report that there are people who've been walking up the mountain, some in white robes, some naked with orbs. But the concern here, TJ, is sects. And a government agency in France has actually sent out an alert this week, that's why it's so topical, warning people about sects. There's a concern, like we saw with Waco, what happens is you get people who are very vulnerable. One of the things they've warned people is people who have cancer, people who are ill, that they may be susceptible to these kind of cults. So that's the concern here.
Now, again, how seriously do people, is this just another one of these things, but are reasonable people starting to come in, or is it,
that is questionable, but if you look on the internet, the concern by this French government agency is how prolific it is, how many people actually believe this.
But they're taking it seriously enough to act, if you will, at least put out a statement.
Exactly. And of course the mayor is going, I don't want my town to be known for lunatics and fanatics and apocalypse and people who are seeking or concerned about the end of the world. So it's really become quite controversial. And interestingly enough, this is the place where Jules Verne spoke about in Journey to the Center of the Earth, and Spielberg spoke about in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So a very beautiful place, but of grave concern right now to the mayor and to French authorities that there may be a group of people who are taking this far too seriously and who may influence others to take it seriously.
It is beautiful. Aliens inside the mountain.
Inside the sacred mountain, Le Pic de Bucharest.
All right, it's Donnie Biltek. All right, folks. I would say book your tickets, but that's exactly what they don't want you to do, people to descend on this place. Nadia, with our morning passport.
We'll speak again on December 21st, 2012.
Will we speak on the 22nd is the question.
There's this lady who claims she has a third eye. And when somebody tells you they have a third eye, usually witchcraft, witches, they have third eye because they have eyes which they are able to see into the supernatural. They have eyes which they can see through you, and they have eyes to be able to see through the future. That's why when you go to a psychic, they have an eye which they are connecting with demons, and demons are feeding them information. So when somebody tells you that I have a third eye, they are into witchcraft or they are into occultic groups, and they're able to see into the supernatural. There's this lady who is even predicting that she knows that the world is coming to an end very soon.
My name is Princess Kaoru Nakamaru from Japan. In 1976, I had fantastic spiritual experience. Ever since then, my third eye opened, so I could communicate with the UFO people, and also inside the earth, there is a very high civilization existing, particularly the head of the librarian inside of the earth. I also communicate with them. And from all of these information, I am convinced 2012, December 22nd on, 3 days, when this earth are going into the 5th dimension, there is a place called Nuru. When we are passing through that place, 3 days, 3 nights, we are not able to use the electricity, the completely darkness, day and night. No sun, no stars, no light at all. We are completely in dark 3 days. No mass media or no information are announced to these people on this planet. Hidden government people know it. Just by themselves, they thought that they can be saved. They try to escape from this planet, or they are digging the underground city under Atlanta, Norway, Holland, Switzerland, Australia. About 10,000 people elite could be saved by living there. I don't think they are saved anyway. We need to purify our spiritual condition, physically and spiritually. I will tell you how to do it. It is very important. Almighty God, the creator of the God itself, is the light and love and energy. Part of that energy of the love we have in our heart. We can tell a lie to the other people, but we cannot tell a lie to ourselves. That is the conscience, I would call. Each human being has that beautiful part of the Creator in our soul. That will reincarnate. That is the eternal life we have inside. That means, in order to purify our soul, every 5 years or so since we are born, we can take a look at, with that conscience, how we behaved, how we thought, how we talked about. And all of these things can clarify by looking at our life every 5 years up until now. This way, each time we find something, we did something harmful to the other people, we can clarify and we can purify that. And each time we find it, our heart expands. We can breathe it very deeply, and each time we have that experience, all this darkness are going out of our heart, but all this golden light is coming into our heart. That way, we can see better and better. We still have some time until 2012, December 12, 22nd. Physically, we also can purify our body. First of all, we should never drink canned juice or canned beer. Aluminum is very, very harmful to our body. Without knowing, we take all this poisonous food or drink. So each of our body, we can take care of ourselves, things like that. And some kind of exercise is necessary, and each day we can reflect our spirit, how it is. In essence, we human beings are light and love, because part of Creator we have in our heart, and that reincarnate by leaving our body here on the earth, but the spirit go on, keep on living. On this earth, I could remember my life several thousand years back on this planet, and besides many other parts of the planet I lived. All this memory coming back, and I could speak the language I've never learned even. So physically I experienced the incarnation theory is correct. Well, whoever listened to this conference theme, I think people is saved. We are so divided after 1913, the kind of people who believe in this kind of concept, the kind of people who don't, they're splitting very, very deeply. And all this side, the kind of people who don't understand this or not believing it, or completely dark spiritual condition, they will be born to the other planet, just like the earth, this earth. There is a violence, there is a war. They will be born to the other planet. So we are ready now to have a wonderful conference very soon, very shortly. We still have some time until 2012, December 12, 22nd. Physically, we also can purify our body. First of all, we should never drink canned juice or canned beer. Aluminum is very, very harmful to our body. Without knowing, we take all this poisonous food or drink. So each of our body, we can take care of ourselves, things like that. And some kind of exercise is necessary, and each day we can reflect our spirit, how it is. In essence, we human beings are light and love, because part of Creator we have in our heart, and that reincarnate by leaving our body here on the earth, but the spirit go on, keep on living. On this earth, I could remember my life several thousand years back on this planet, and besides many other parts of the planet I lived. All this memory coming back, and I could speak the language I've never learned even. So physically I experienced the incarnation theory is correct. Well, whoever listened to this conference theme, I think people is saved. We are so divided after 1913, the kind of people who believe in this kind of concept, the kind of people who don't, they're splitting very, very deeply. And all this side, the kind of people who don't understand this or not believing it, or completely dark spiritual condition, they will be born to the other planet, just like the earth, this earth. There is a violence, there is a war. they will be born to the other planet. So we are ready now to have a wonderful conference.
And I want you to know that even others from the occultic realms know that very soon their time is short. Demons know. You see, when the demons saw Jesus, when Jesus was about to deliver a guy who had been bound and was in the tomb and he was cutting himself, when the demons saw this man, they said, have you come to torment us before our time? They knew that their time, and they knew that the time Jesus came wasn't the right time for them to be cast out or for them to be tormented. So they said, the demons said to Jesus, have you come to torment us before our time? Meaning that they know the hour, they know the time when their day of judgment will arise. And so I want you to know that some of the guys in the occultic realm, they know the time when they know their judgment is coming. They know they may not know the fixed time, but they will know the season, that in this season, very soon God's judgment will be coming upon us and will be cast into the lake of fire. Every day I ask myself that how did the wise men know that this star shows that Jesus was born? Every day it has marveled me. If you have the answer, let me know. How did the wise men know that this star they saw, which was so bright, represent or depicted the fact that Jesus Christ, a king, was born? How did they know? What made them know that? Do you understand? So I want you to know that some of the people in the occultic realm and other religion and other occultic group, New Age, they know that something is coming to happen to the face of the earth very soon. And we Christians too are admonishing people, because people are having near-death experience, having visions and dreams, and God is revealing to them that He is coming very soon. So please, I warn you, if you don't know Jesus, make sure you know Him and you are worshiping Him in truth and spirit, and repent of your sins and turn to Him today, lest it's too late for you.
2012, the end of the Mayan calendar, and we're entering the final countdown before the world is supposed to end in catastrophic earthquakes on December 21st. But if recent history is any guide, you probably shouldn't blow your life savings making the most of your last months on Earth. It's been a busy few years for failed doomsday predictions. Just last year, California pastor Harold Camping made international headlines predicting the world would end on May 21st, 2011. He inspired many of his followers to sell their possessions to help spread the word. But when the rapture didn't come on schedule, he blamed a math error and said it would come October 21st. Oops. In 2010, the opening of the Large Hadron Collider, a huge high-energy particle accelerator deep underground in Switzerland, led to fears it would create a black hole that would swallow up the Earth, but it started up without incident. Failed predictions of the end of the world are nothing new. Some medieval Christians thought the year 1000 would herald the coming of the Antichrist and the end of the world. In the 1840s, a preacher named William Miller attracted tens of thousands of followers behind his doomsday prediction. Like Camping, he set a specific date for the rapture based on his reading of the Bible, April 23rd, 1843. When the day came and went, he said the end would absolutely, positively happen on October 22nd, 1844. When October 23rd came and went, followers called it the Great Disappointment. And while that's one of the most notorious failed apocalypses yet, check back on December 22nd.
Nobody knows the day or the hour of the coming of the Messiah. He will come like a thief. But what the Lord has displayed here very clearly is that this war is related to the coming of the Messiah. It may be that when this war takes place sharp like this, then it takes 3-4 months or 1 year, and Israel signs the 7-year deal, peace deal.
Alafu Israeli itaeka sahihi yale makubaliano ya amani ya miaka 7.
After 3 years, 1 year, 3 days, who knows?
Baada ya miaka 3, mwaka 1, siku 3, nani ajuae?
So nobody can say that when that war takes place, the rapture happens the same day.
Basi hakuna mtu awezaye kusema kwamba wakati vita hivyo vitatendeka, unyakuzi unatendeka siku hiyo hiyo.
Today here,
leo hapa,
as I was playing for you the clips,
nilipokuwa nikiwachezea hizo awamu,
the reportage on this war,
ripoti juu ya vita hivi,
the Lord stole me into a trance.
Bwana aliniiba katika usingizi kidogo,
And I saw a lot of Israeli aircraft on the runway
na nikaona ndege nyingi za Kiisraeli pale kwa runway
at high speed taking off.
zikiwa kwenye kasi ya juu kabisa zinaanza safari.
And I heard the voice saying,
Na nikasikia sauti ikasema,
look, this war has broken out.
tazama, hivi vita vimelipuka.
And there is a follow-up vision most recently,
Na kuna maono ya kufuatilia hivi majuzi kabisa,
when the Lord again showed me the aircrafts,
wakati mara tena Bwana alinionyesha ndege,
and by voice he said,
na kwa sauti akasema,
look, the war has broken out.
tazama, vita vimelipuka.
The war has broken out.
Vita vimelipuka.
So this war is related to the coming of the Messiah.
Na kwa hivyo vita hivi vinaambatana na kuja kwake Masia.
While nobody may know the day or the hour,
Wakati hakuna mtu anaweza kujua siku wala saa,
the rapture could happen right before the war.
unyakuzi pia waweza kutendeka kabla ya hivyo vita.
Such that when the war takes place, then they announce one peace deal right away there and then.
Kiasi ya kwamba wakati vita vile vitatendeka, mara moja wanatangaza ule mkubaliano wa amani papo hapo.
Or
Ama
the rapture could happen after this war.
unyakuzi pia waweza kutendeka baada ya hivi vita.
But the most important thing,
Lakini jambo la muhimu sana,
the most important message that today's news
ujumbe wa muhimu zaidi ambao habari za leo
screams out to the church
zinatokeza kwa kanisa
is that time is over.
ni kwamba wakati umekwisha. Rani wanaenda kupigana.
Now you know it for yourself,
Sasa unajijulia mwenyewe
that war
kwamba hivyo vita
has a lot to do with the coming of the Messiah.
vina mengi sana kuhusiana na kuja kwake Masia.
That war
Hilo vita
has so much to do with the rapture of the church.
vina mengi kabisa kuambatana na unyakuzi wa kanisa.
What I've shared tonight
Kile ambacho nimeshiriki usiku wa leo
is not for laughing,
si vya kuchekea
is not laughable,
na si vya kucheka
is not to be taken lightly.
wala si vya kuchukuliwa kirahisi.
This
Haya
touches on the very eternity of people.
yanagusia kwa umilele wa watu.
Nobody can ever smile at this.
Hakuna mtu anayeweza kutabasamu kwa haya.
Because today,
Manake leo
I have been surprised
nimeshtuliwa
that among the prophecies I've ever given across the earth,
ya kwamba miongoni mwa unabii ambao nimewahi kupeana kote kote duniani,
this prophecy of the nuclear war coming to Iran
huu unabii wa vita vya nyuklia vijavyo Irani
is the one I have brought extensively across the entire face of the earth and severally.
ndivyo ambavyo nimetabiri kote kote kwa urefu na upana katika pembe zote za dunia, tena mara kwa mara.
And we know it, precious people,
Na twayajua watu wa dhamani
that it is said
kwamba inasemwa hivi
that end time Bible prophecy
ya kwamba unabii wa Biblia wa nyakati za mwisho
that touches on the church
unaogusia kanisa
and the coming of the Messiah
na kuja kwake Masia
gravitates
unazunguka
around the state of Israel.
unazunguka taifa la Israeli.
And today we've seen it here,
Na leo tumeiona hapa
that Israel is sitting at the center of biblical prophecy.
ya kwamba Israeli imeketi katikati mwa unabii wa Biblia.
But I want to say one thing,
Lakini nataka kusema jambo moja,
that may the Lord bless you.
kwamba Bwana na awabariki.
May the Lord open your eyes.
Sema dhiki.
Listen to me, precious people.
Nisikizeni watu wa dhamani.
The Israel-Iran war
Vita vya Israeli na Irani
that is going to take place
vinavyokwenda kutendeka
will be so severe
vitakuwa vikali sana
that there will be a hit back,
ya kwamba kutakuwepo na kulipiza,
where Iran hits back.
ambapo sasa Irani italipiza
And it's going to be a flare-up,
na itakuwa kuwaka kukuu sana,
and it will be led by Russia.
na vitaongozwa na Urusi.
As you can see today,
Kama vile mweza kuona leo
in the news I am going to read for you here,
katika habari inaenda kuwasomeeni hapa
how Russia wants
jinsi ambavyo Urusi inaonya,
Russia wants Israel and United States
Urusi inawaonya Israeli na Umoja wa Majimbo ya Marekani
from attacking Iran.
kwamba wasije wakavamia Iran.
So you begin to see the central role of Russia
Kwa hivyo waanza kuona sehemu ya ukatikati ya Urusi
in this war.
katika vita hivi.
Even the nuclear plants in Iran,
Hata vile vituo vya nyuklia kule Iran
they have been built by Russia.
vimejengwa na Urusi.
I want to read for you a lot of news reportage here from Haaretz newspaper, which is an Israeli newspaper.
Nataka kuwasomeni ripoti nyingi za habari hapa toka katika gazeti la Kiisraeli linaitwa Haaretz.
But when this war takes place,
Lakini wakati vita hivi vitatendeka,
it will be so severe
vitakuwa vikali mno.
to cause Israel to sign a peace treaty for 7 years.
Vitasababisha Israeli kusahihisha makubaliano ya amani kwa miaka 7.
A false peace treaty.
Na yatakuwa makabiliano ya uongo ya amani.
And that means when this war takes place,
Na hiyo inamaanisha kwamba wakati vita hivi
it
vitatendeka,
happens at the time when the rapture is here.
vitatendeka wakati ambapo unyakuzi uko hapa.
Because
Kwa sababu
when it takes place,
vitakapotendeka,
Israel is compelled to sign a 7-year peace treaty, a false one.
Israeli italazimika iingie katika makubaliano ya amani ya uongo
With the Arab states and Russia,
na mataifa ya Kiarabu na Urusi
the enemies of God.
na maadui wa Mungu.
That is the tribulation.
Na hiyo ndio dhiki.
The rapture has happened.
Unyakuzi umetendeka.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Drank a lot and partied a lot, and I was moved to Tucson, Arizona, and I was working at a construction site, and one of the guys brought some water from Mexico that was contaminated, and I ended up drinking it by accident. Got real sick, contracted cholera, and within about 72 hours I was flat on my back and basically dehydrated. That's when I passed away. I noticed that when I passed on, that of course I wear glasses and I'm very nearsighted. I noticed that, first thing I noticed is that I wasn't wearing my glasses and I could see clearly across the room. And when I turned my head, I noticed that my body wasn't moving. And I was lifted right out of my body and hovered over my body, looking down at myself and looking around. And next thing I knew, I went through the ceiling of the room I was in, and I was transported into a very, very, very black, dark void. I could hear like somebody speaking to me, like telepathy. And it was explaining to me many, many things that I no longer remember. But most of the idea was explaining to you the whys of life. Why there was evil in the world, why this, why, people have questions all the time. These were being answered to you as you were being transported to this light. And time you got to where the light was, you knew what happened, you know what's going on, you know what happened, you know you died, you know you're going to be judged, and everything as you're traveling, it's made so clear to you that what's happening is perfectly just and right. Oh, yeah. This one vortex was spinning, and a lady that just died in a car wreck came through, and she was deposited right there. And I saw her as she arrived, and inside her cube, she saw it as the illusion of her grandmother's farm, her grandparents' farm that she loved so well as when she was growing up. And her grandmother recently passed away too, so she got in this cube, and immediately she thought she was in heaven because there was her grandmother waiting there welcoming her. The grandmother that was actually a demon that gave the illusion of being the grandmother said, "Dear Pudding, you made it to heaven. I'm so glad you're here." And she really thought that she was in paradise. But there was a darker side to her. She would make her children be what she wanted. Her children wanted something else. She wanted them to be this. And if they didn't do it her way, it was the fist. It was verbal abuse. It was cutting down. So as she sat down, I was watching it, and the tree's limbs just grabbed her. And then she realized she was not in paradise. And as we passed some cubes, there were people inside, and they were trapped in flames. And it was like their skin was still intact, but they were burning. and there was an individual, and he was playing pool, and this guy was a child serial killer, but he lived in the 1940s, but he was in this pool hall playing this pool before the punishments would commence again. He thought he had a break. And then these people in there would torment him and come and run and just grab him and tear him up. And out of the sky, I could see this big demon coming down. It reminded me of a snake. He just gobbled him and swallowed him. Then all the other little demons came up and said, that's no fair. We didn't have our chance with him yet. After he regurgitated him back up, he was whole. I know this sounds really bizarre, but that's what happened. Then all the other little demons, little teeny things, about 3 foot tall, just jumped on him. And he was powerless. And they were beating and clawing, and there was no rest for this guy whatsoever after that. It was constant torment. Everything that he ever done was being justly put back to him. Came to a cube. I was looking at this, and this was a woman. She was dressed in fine garb. She was a temple prostitute, basically what it was. And she was somebody who died in Corinth around 69 AD. For a price, she would have a newborn son. For some reason, their religion was some strange thing. When you have a newborn son, you can offer it into a statue, and there's flames underneath the statue. You put the baby on the statue, and basically the baby would be cooked. And here she is in this temple. There was no let up to her torment. It was almost like all the little babies that she burned that were hers and other people's were tormenting her, mocking her, pouncing on her, just crawling and tearing her up. And she just screamed, and I had to turn away and walk. There's an individual that she practiced the black dark craft. She was a witch. I just knew that she was a witch, but she died many hundreds of years ago. But she was trapped in a coffin, scratching, trying to get out. She couldn't get out. She was in that position for years and years and years and years, hundreds of years. And then finally, when she got it open, all the demons would pounce on her. And I walked on to another cube. We looked in this other cube on this row, and there was another lady, and she believed that Mother Earth could save her. And then if she honored the trees and the rocks, and she was into this nature thing, and part of their religious practice that she would practice would be getting out in the fields and dancing around a fire with a bunch of other people doing the same. The people that she thought that she was with were actually demons, and they would come up to her and say, you did this. They pick up a stone. You say, the stone will save you here, and they smacked her with it. So she was standing there, and the demons reached down there and reached in her mouth, ripped out her tongue and part of her thing. Says, you talk bad? No, the stones are not going to save you. Nobody can save you. Then they ripped off her, just actually took her skin and just peeled it off. It was really slow and agonizing to shreds until nothing but the skeletons. Then they took the bones and broke the bones. And she felt everything. And then her body would come back together. The flesh would come back together, and she'd be whole again, and it would start all over again. A different scene would happen. And some of the cruelest people on earth were in these. Some people, I don't like to say names of people or anything like that, but I will, this one particular individual is definitely there, and everybody knows who it is. It's Adolf Hitler. Hitler was sitting in a cube. It was open, and it was just burning flames. Hitler was sitting in a cube. It was open, and it was just burning flames. He's just sitting there burning. And his flesh wasn't burning, and he had this hideous look on his face. And as he was burning, the flesh would be rotting, and he was feeling every bit of it. It was almost like every oven of the gas, of the concentration camps, all the tortures that went on there were being meted back to him in one intense flaming bit of stoked up white hot heat that would rot his flesh away at the same time, make him ashes, come back. He was just being tormented like that. He was just, I remember having a weird look on his eyes. It was just angry, vicious anger.